you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world? It is that time for the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live right now, out here in the old left coast, nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, and we're glad to have you with us today. I am your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We do that here at the Conservative Syndicate by espousing what we call the conservative gospel and exposing the lameness of the leftist agenda. And I'll tell you, it just gets lamer and lamer every single day. I don't know what it is about these people on the left, but boy, they just think that they are just so immune to stupidity. And I'll tell you, there is running rampant, epidemic proportions on the left, the amount of stupidity we're seeing exhibited across this great land of ours during this primary cycle. Probably one of the most, in my opinion, historic election cycles that we've had in my lifetime. Because there's so much involved. I mean, we could talk about just the volatility and the vitriol and everything that's out there right now, and that in and of itself would be enough. We could carry on days worth of conversations about that aspect of this primary season. But one of the things that is really out there, really outstanding in terms of what I see going on, is the success of the leftist agenda in using divide and conquer strategies, or as those of us savvy in the political world, Alinsky tactics. The ability to isolate and demonize targets and then just en masse be able to come after these things, these people, and do their work, do their destruction. It is amazing to me that with all the rhetoric that's being directed at Donald Trump right now, and again, I want to preface my remarks by saying I am not a Donald Trump supporter. I would not endorse Donald Trump as a presidential candidate. And the only I will vote for him if he does end up with a nomination, because I think at least with Trump we stand the possibility that he may do at least some of what he says he's going to do, whereas if we get a leftist in there, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, or somebody else, depending on what happens with Clinton and her pending indictment out there right now, you know what you're going to get with that. And so that's the other historical context of it. We're either going to begin the trip back to restoration of this great republic, or we are going to follow or continue into the death spiral known as democracy, rule of the mob. And that can only lead to one thing, tyranny. So historical in the things that are going on, historical in the results one way or the other, what's happening here in this great land of ours. So we're going to kind of strike that pose today, talk about a couple things that are going on there. I'm going to open up the show as soon as we get to it, talking about some of the things that are coming out of the Department of Justice. To me, just bizarre stuff. I mean, I understood everything that Eric Holder was doing. I understood the motivation behind his saying this guy was the epitome of racism, and I think he had a lifetime membership to the racist club, and his expiration on his race card never expires, probably never will. And so I understood a lot of what he was doing and why he was doing it. This DOJ, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, is really looking at some really weird stuff, and maybe she's doing it just because all the real issues is not something that she wants to touch, because at this point in the game, it's all about preserving Obama's legacy as the first white half president of America, and everything that he's done to deconstruct and redefine and circumvent and undermine our Constitution, our system of government, and the procedures and traditions and protocols. All those things have been tossed out the window with this guy. And maybe, she doesn't want to touch any of those things that would tarnish the possibility of tarnishing Obama. And I think it's even telling that during all this stuff that's going on with these incidences that took place all last week at Donald Trump rallies, that there's been no response at all from Barack Obama. And I will explain to you today why that's the case. There's a compelling reason why Obama's been pretty much absent of the scene these last couple of months, and why probably the reason why his approval rating has actually jumped back up to 50%. It's great when a president doesn't do anything, and that's what's going on here. Obama's spending all his time going to techie conventions and golf courses and stuff like that, which I wish he'd do more of and stay out of the Oval Office. But his absence and lack of input as to what's going on out there is very telling. And again, we're going to talk about that today. I'll explain to you why I make that allegation. The Trump campaign, what's going on out there with the Trump campaign right now, is just what I have been saying here now for a few weeks. And those who attack me or approach me on Facebook or Twitter or emails or whatever want to just really jump on my case. There's just some of these people are still so absorbed in Donald Trump not denouncing David Duke of the KKK like it's a big issue. The KKK is irrelevant. The only time the KKK is relevant is when they have the opportunity, when the media and the left has an opportunity to try to attach somebody to this group that has no relevance because of the history behind it. And I have been talking about the idea, or the what I believe to be true, is that the Black Lives Matter movement is very quickly developing into a black version of the KKK. And we're going to talk about that today, too. A lot of people try to tell me the Black Lives Matter movement is a peace movement. And when we get into the show today, you'll understand why that's a crock. And the other side of the coin, which is really funny, is the association between Black Lives Matter and Bernie Sanders. Whether willingly or unwillingly, Bernie Sanders has garnered the support of Black Lives Matter. Maybe that day he let those girls up there on the podium sealed the deal, and he may have done it thinking he was doing the right thing, but they have taken to Bernie Sanders like white on rice, if I can use that phrase. And I don't know if Sanders really understands the implications of that, because I don't think the guy is really all there. But we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the response of the Republican candidates and how they responded to Trump. I think all three of them completely blew it, including my guy, Ted Cruz. And we'll talk about that. And then, of course, the Clinton campaign. We have one IT specialist that's currently testifying before the FBI. We have another IT specialist working during the Clinton administration that refuses to answer questions. That in and of itself is very telling. So those are some of the things we hope to look at today. And, of course, at the bottom of the hour, we'll be with Bob Cardozo from Robert Cardozo Live, and we'll see what's on his agenda. So having said all that, let's go to our first commercial break here, and we'll be back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We got a lot for you today.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and I'm glad to have you with me today. My co-host Joe Hako's still out recovering, but my understanding is that he has been released from the hospital. He's been in hospital. I think they did some surgery on him. I haven't talked to him in the last day or so, but I got a message from him over the weekend that he was supposed to be out over the weekend. So I'll give you a better report tomorrow. Just too many things going on here in my own personal life here to have been able to cover all the bases this weekend. Anyway, our best out there, Joe. He'll be back. I know Joe. He's a fighter. He'll be back. So just keep him in your prayers, him and his family, and we'll wait for him to get back here when he's healthy and ready to go. All right. Let me start out with the bizarre stuff today. I just find this kind of stuff bizarre, just really bizarre. And it's bizarre because one thing that I think we can say without a shadow of a doubt, that is the administration of Barack Obama allowed or has created a pattern or protocol that too many people on both sides of the political aisle, conservatives and liberals alike, moderates and Democrats alike, is that we have all allowed ourselves to a certain degree to fall into this trap of believing that the government's responsibility is to constantly be doing something to make our lives better. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about Obamacare or we're talking about any other aspect or any other social issue here, but we have bought into this narrative way too much. The Trump rally things, which we'll get into in a moment, is a perfect example of that. Everything is about feeling good. Everything is about making our lives better. And when something goes to hell and everything blows up, then it's about making sure that it never happens again. The utopian ideal of the government being responsible and obligated to make our lives better and more pleasant and all the other aspects of these things is just, I find it repulsive. As somebody who believes, I understand individual accountability and responsibility before our Creator, and a government that was designed to keep that very aspect of each individual citizen before them in the forefront of their thoughts and actions. We each individually will give an account of who we are before our Creator. And it won't be the fault of the government, it won't be the fault of anybody else, but our own response to what goes on out there on our day-to-day basis. But when I see things like this, like I said, Obama has ushered in this facade that the government can basically just step into whatever they want to, whenever they want to, and however they want to. And we, the public, we're just supposed to embrace it and accept it. And I find that gets to the very core of what upsets me as a conservative. This idea that that's the way it's supposed to be. And it's not supposed to be that way. It was never designed to be that way. It never should be that way, and we should never allow it to get that way. And these, I'm going to share with you just a couple of things here to really demonstrate and exemplify what I'm saying here. Loretta Lynch has been testifying before committees here over the last few weeks on various things. The most notable is what's going on with the FBI investigation in Clinton, which she has basically said, I'm not telling you anything because right now everything is, working itself out kind of thing. But she, in front of one of these hearings here, it's not actually hearing. This is something that the Department of Justice has just come out with. Guidelines. Now, the guidelines that she's issuing here are based on a lot of the premise that underscores the Obama administration's response to the series of riots and incidences that we've had over the last couple years with people being shot by police officers. And we can say this, black people being shot by police officers. And these series of events over the time escalated, much like what's going on with the Trump rallies right now. They started out with some little, minimal number of protesters showing up, trying to make a big deal about something, escalating into thousands showing up in Chicago on Friday. into an actual person trying to get to Trump on the stage. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. And now with the promise of more continuing disruptions of Donald Trump rallies, which now means that eventually it'll escalate and they'll start going after maybe Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or somebody like that. Not that it would matter with Rubio, but you get the drift of what I'm talking about. So the DOJ has issued some guidelines. See, they can't just come out and say these are the laws, but they issue guidelines, and the assumption is that the state will just go along with it. The states will go along with it because the states are receiving federal money. See, this is always the underlying argument against federal funds being funneled into states because the states become reliant on this money for whatever reason. And what happens then is they then become captive to the mandates of the federal government. Now, this one here, the DOJ warns against jailing poor people for not paying court fines. And it says here the Justice Department issued new guidelines to state and municipal court systems aimed at preventing indigent defendants from being jailed because they're too poor to pay fines for minor infractions. Now, what has brought this about is the idea here that in demonstrations, whether they been the result of these protests and riots and everything else that were going on with the shooting of black people by police officers, or protests at the universities, the safe space protests. College campuses are out there saying they don't feel safe, and they want regents fired and sports directors fired and all these things over perceived issues of racism, or whether it be here recently the Trump people getting arrested at Trump rallies. The idea is that what happened is somebody gets arrested, somebody gets apprehended by the police for doing something that is unlawful. And then if you've ever been arrested, and I have, so I know what happens here, the first thing they do, is they run a warrant check on you. And if they find a warrant, you are taken into custody. Okay, so I know this firsthand. I had a warrant out for me, maybe 30 years ago, because of a situation I was in, and I had been put on probation. It was a minor incident, but it was something that I had been put on probation for, and I moved out of the county, and I thought it had all been settled, and I moved down to Orange County from Ventura County. I get stopped one day for jaywalking. Or not even jaywalking. I stepped off the curb at an intersection, and there was a cop sitting in his car at the intersection and waved me back on the sidewalk. And I rolled my eyes at him. I just how you just roll your eyes. Okay. He pulled over and proceeds to slam me up against the car and put handcuffs on me. And I'm like, what are you doing this for? Well, I don't like your attitude, that kind of thing. See, cops don't need to be looking just at minorities to be idiots. Some of them are just idiots by their nature. So anyway, he runs a check and finds out that I have this warrant for not reporting to my probation officer to be released from probation. So I was arrested. I spent 24 hours in jail. I was given a court date, went up to the court, and settled it. I was there for a couple hours. The judge looked at it, and he said, okay, now you've met the terms of your probation, and you're gone. They dismissed it. But the point being is that's standard operating procedure. You have an arrest warrant out there because you failed to appear to court, or you failed to pay the fine by a given deadline or whatever, and you get arrested if they have reason to apprehend you or hold you, okay? So that's what's been happening. There's been these people out there that get arrested for rioting or demonstrating, and they find that they have warrants on them, and so they lock them up. Well, Loretta Lynch, our Attorney General, I'm sure at the direction of our President, Barack Obama, has decided that people aren't paying these fines because they're too poor to pay. And so therefore they should not be arrested. They should not be forced to pay the fines. And so she has issued directives to city and municipalities, directing them to determine whether the people are too poor to pay the fines before they arrest them. Now, how are you going to do that? What kind of bureaucracy do we have to set up now to check a person's income level to determine whether they should have paid a fine based on their income level or whether they have income coming in? And if not, then what do? You just let them go? You know, this is ridiculous. This is straight pandering. Now, first of all, I agree that most law enforcement agencies today throughout the country, I know they do it out here in California, they have turned issuing tickets into a business, big time. Out here we have cameras at stop signals, and the cameras are timed that if you run a signal at a certain point, or if you make an illegal turn at a certain point. See, it used to be in California you could turn right on a red light once you check the traffic. Now they have specific areas where they put up a little sign that says no right turns on red lights, and then they monitor it with cameras, and if people make those right turns, and they issue them a ticket by radar. Now these tickets, it used to be a speeding ticket was like $1 for every mile you were over, but some of these speeding tickets now are $400 and $500 first pop kind of thing. And so the cities, they're trying to generate revenue for whatever it is they need revenue for, to keep the trees green or something, on the center dividers of the freeway or whatever that kind of thing is. But my question is how do you determine who is too poor to pay? And if that is what's happening, isn't this just another effort to appease a demographic, and in actuality is encouraging people to disregard law? See, that's what the Obama administration's been doing, is teaching or encouraging people to disregard law. Don't worry about the laws. Don't worry about getting arrested for burning a place down. We'll set up burn zones for you, so you can burn this part of the city down. And we don't want to incite this anymore. We don't want to create any more violence. Or let's talk about Donald Trump inciting violence at his rallies, when in fact it is his opponents and people that don't like Donald Trump that are showing up at the rallies and creating the violence. We don't see Donald Trump supporters showing up at Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton rallies and disrupting and marching around with signs and trying to get up on the stage and all that stuff. They're coming to Trump rallies, creating a problem, and then accusing Trump of being the problem because he has said something they don't like. And so Donald Trump is inciting violence. That's what's wrong with this scenario. People choose. Why? Because people don't regard the law anymore. Why? Because this administration has basically said if you're a person of color, you don't really have to pay attention to law, because the law was created to hold you down, to make you pay, to keep you in your place. And so that's what's been going on. Now, here's the other thing. Most of these people that are too poor to pay, whoever they are, live in communities that are run by Democratic constituencies. And then does that not mean that it's because of the Democrats that these people are too poor to pay their fines? Is it not the result of Democratic policies and rules and regulations that keep these people from becoming anything other, on top of the fact they've been encouraged not to do anything because the government will take care of them? And if that's the case, is that not in and of itself a demonstration of racism? That the government has determined that they can't pay, and they can't pay because they're people of color? Because that's who this is directed at. They're not talking about poor white communities. They're talking about poor black communities or Hispanic communities. They're not talking about poor Asian communities. They're talking about poor black communities, poor Hispanic communities, because that's the demographic that is voting for Democrats no matter what goes on. That is their solidified base. And then the big question, of course, is when did the Fed get authority to dictate to cities and municipalities what they're supposed to do anyway? They've taken these situations with riots and everything and police brutality charges and said, this allows us to step into your business once again and tell you what to do. Now, that's one of the things we're talking about. We'll talk about the other one when we get back here. But we're going to go to a break, and then we'll be on with Bob Cardoso. We'll cover it when we get done with Bob. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, and we are going to hook up right now with our good friend Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live and do our segment on his show this Monday afternoon. I hope everything is going for you, or your week started out really well.
Hey, John, you with us?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm sorry?
I say, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
All right, I'm just trying to get you dialed in here on the volume here.
Okay. You know what? I was just
Okay.
telling everybody
Okay.
we do this simulcast every Monday and Friday with John. Generally, Joe Hakes, his partner, is with us as well. Joe is recovering from surgery after today. And John's always got interesting things to tell us and an interesting perspective on what's going on in politics, both from the liberal side and the conservative side. So you got the volume going okay now, John?
Well, I have some mixed feelings about what it took place over the last few days at these Trump rallies.
I think it was all a setup.
Yeah, it is so indicative and so demonstrative of what this current administration has brought to the table in terms of these Sal Alinsky tactics. And what I mean by that is what we see here is people gathering to go into a rally at a Donald Trump rally and with the intent of disrupting the rally. And then when people at the rally who support Donald Trump respond to that, all of a sudden the people that are the instigators are the victims, and the people that are basically being the victims are now the instigators. And
I agree with you. You know what? You see the same thing I see. I think it's all set up. It's another maneuver by the Democrats to discredit the Republicans and the conservatives. I'm not sure, however, if it's Hillary Clinton, or if it's Sanders, or if it's Cruz or Rubio. I mean, I'm not sure who's actually pulling this thing off to try and get Trump out of there.
Well, what I opened my show with today is talking about how we have, on both sides of the political aisle, allowed ourselves over the last 20, 30 years, and even more so with this administration, to allow ourselves to be convinced or to swallow the myth of the narrative that it's okay to disobey the law and disregard the law if you feel like you're being disenfranchised. On the other side, on the right, I guess what bothers me about the narrative is that both sides have bought into the idea that it is government's responsibility to take care of everything that's wrong with the world. And if the government isn't doing that, then those on the left will say, well, the government isn't doing it because the people on the right are obstructing it. And the people on the right are saying, well, it's not that we're obstructing, it's that we just want to do it our way instead of letting you do it your way. And so what we have here, I was very incensed. I'll tell you what I'm the most incensed about is Ted Cruz coming out and condemning Donald Trump for promoting violence, when in fact the answer is what's going on here is this Black Lives Matter organization, which I said when it first came out, I said this is nothing more than another community organizing institution that's being exploited by Barack Obama. MoveOn.org was one of Barack Obama's key campaign people during his 2008 election. And they have now gone over to Bernie Sanders. Most of these people that were arrested, the ones that were leading the assaults, and they're coming out, all Bernie Sanders supporters.
Yeah.
So this idea of what I've been doing is pointing to the parallels between what took place last week and what you and I remember about the 1968 Democratic Convention, which was much worse than this. But actually resulted in the death of one person, and 589 arrests, over 215 injuries to police officers and civilians, and the death of a 17-year-old who was out after curfew, and when he was pulled over, he pulled a gun on an officer, and the officer shot him. This was led by people like Abby Hoffman, who was leading the college crowd, Jerry Rubin, leading the college crowd, the youth, the international youth movement, the Yippie movement, and they were out there demonstrating. They had the anti-Vietnam people out there, and this thing escalated into all these riots and everything. But there were community organizations created on college campuses, just like Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And it just escalated out of control.
You know what? I mean, there's a part of me that just thinks that this whole thing has been orchestrated from the beginning, and I'm not necessarily saying that the perpetrators did it. I think that the organizers on all sides, set this thing up to happen. I mean, it just seems to me that it's ironic that with all the rhetoric that's going on, that Trump seems to be the focus here. And would he be the focus if it weren't that the establishment does not want him to be a Republican nominee? Would he be the focus if the Democrats weren't kind of afraid of him running against them?
Well, Trump is a textbook example of what liberals dream about. A guy that will get up there and speak his mind and not care about the consequences of what he's saying. And the situation, this is the problem, and this is why I think it has escalated the way it is. And I agree with you 100%. This is not the common person out there wanting to voice their frustration. The people that make up this organization, Black Lives Matter, I would imagine in their mind have a justifiable cause for which they're driving to. But what they never seem to see, and we make the same mistake on the right, is that they never seem to catch on that they're being exploited by the professional community organizers and the professional activists who take something like this and say, "Oh wow, we have another avenue that we can make money off of this." That's what it's all about. It's about people wanting to make money.
Oh yeah, they're being led right to the trough. Actually, being led right to the slaughter, I should say.
I'm sorry?
I say they're being led right to the slaughter.
Oh yeah, they are. They are, and all it will do is it will continue to magnify and multiply the division that we already have in the country, and that is the intent. When you study, if you really take the time, and people should do this just for the sake of understanding it, you read Sal Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It's an easy read. It's less than 200 pages, a small paperback. You can read it in a couple hours. And you'll see that the whole idea behind all this stuff, and this is what's going on with Trump right now, is you locate a target, you isolate that target, and you demonize that target, and then that's who you go after. And in the process of doing it, you utilize tactics that are, in Sal Alinsky's words, fun for the demonstrators and the protesters. What's more fun than burning things down and tearing things up?
Yeah.
And so, it's all to bring about a type of revolution, and they call it political. It's political participation, but that's not what it is. It's the idea that we're going to silence anybody who opposes us, and we're going to create such havoc that people won't want to oppose us, and then we have the narrative, and then everybody just falls in line and follows it. And that's what's going on here. That's what's going on. That's why we have a Congress that won't do anything, because they have bought into the narrative that if they do anything, they're going to be target isolated, and then people are going to come after them. That's why we got the Senate, Republican Senate right now. They're so scared to do anything because they're afraid they might lose an election.
Yeah, you know what? Wouldn't it be refreshing if they would just do their job and not worry about losing the election? Because if they did their job, they wouldn't have to worry about losing the election. They'd be reelected.
Yeah, well, who wants to do their job when you can sit around on your duff and draw $300,000 a year by doing nothing?
Oh yeah. You know what? It was interesting that I was listening to Rubio the other day, and he was saying something about that Trump can't do the job, and Cruz can't do the job, and Casey can't do the job. And I'm thinking to myself, well, listen to this idiot. He's not doing the job. He's been elected. He's collecting a paycheck, and he doesn't even show up for the votes.
Yeah, well, that's to Rubio's demise. I think Rubio came into the Senate knowing he was going to go straight from there and try it for the presidency, and so it was just a stepping stone for him.
Well, yeah, but what happened? He says, well, I don't like this job, right? That's how he feels about the Senate. I don't like this job, so he's not doing it. What happens if he actually gets elected president and decides, hey, I don't like this job?
Yeah, well, that ain't going to happen, but
yeah, I know.
But that's a good question. That's a good question because it's obvious that he did. It's not happening fast enough for him.
Yeah,
and,
that's exactly
that's why
right.
I think Rubio is more of a liberal than he is a Republican because of the fact that it just isn't happening fast enough for him. He doesn't like being in the Senate because he has to adhere to protocol, and he doesn't want to do that. This new generation, I want it now, and I want it now, and that's it.
Okay, hey John, we got to take a break. We'll be back. You're going to call me back right after your commercial break, okay?
All right. Okay, guys, we'll be back in just a moment here. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, and we are going to hook back up with Bob Cardoso over there at Robert Cardoso Live and finish out our segment with him. And those of you listening to us for the first time, we call into Bob's show on Monday and Friday, and on Monday we take care of his issues. On Friday we do ours. We get him to comment on what's going on with us.
And we're
Yes,
we're
I'm
back
here
with John Matthews in the syndicated Conservative Syndicate. I'm sorry, John, I got a little mixed up. I totally forgot you were calling back in, and I was watching my commercial time lag.
I'm sorry, say that again, Bob.
I screwed up. That's what I was making an excuse because I screwed up, John.
Well, I'm sitting here once again trying to dial you in. Are you moving away from your microphone?
No, you can't. I'm talking right into it. You can't hear me, John?
Yeah, okay, now, your volume's going in and out, but that's okay.
Okay. I can hear you okay. I hear a buzz in the background, if that's any help to you, but basically I can hear you well.
Well, that's a possibility here. I'm actually having to manipulate sound all day today manually because of some issue here, but I'm just trying to cope with it the best I can here.
Boy, I hear that. You know what? It's so frustrating. Earlier today, when I started my broadcast, there was some maintenance guy outside the studio window here, and all of a sudden there was this god-awful noise going on, and there was no way I could get it to stop. And and I thought, this is going to be frustrating, and it was very distracting. Couldn't get anything done. Of course, I've had plenty of technical problems as well. You're my go-to guy when I have a technical problem. Unfortunately, I don't know who your go-to guy is except you.
Well, we fired our lawn care guy because he's always coming on right in the middle of my show, and I'm in the backyard here with one of these blowers, that have a Hemi engine in it.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about, are we just being led down the rosy path because all these politicians are convinced that we're fools and we're going to do whatever they want us to do?
Well, you know what? A couple of comments here. If I can just kind of ramble around a little bit and come to a central point here. I think one of the things that's very telling right now in terms of what's going on with these disruptions at rallies is the absence of Barack Obama. We've not heard anything out of this guy in a couple of weeks now. And I think that's very telling because some of these organizations, like I said, Black Lives Matter is being mentored by MoveOn.org, which is a key organization for Barack Obama. The only other organization that's bigger than that is Organizing for America, which was his actual campaign when he ran in 2008, 2012. MoveOn.org is a branch of that. La Raza is another key player in the Chicago thing, and La Raza was an organization that Barack Obama, as a community organizer, was very active with. He did some pro bono work for them. So the fact that what he's doing now is he's just kind of hanging back. So you don't hear anything from him at all. You're not hearing his comments. Normally this guy is involved in everything from March Madness and the college basketball thing to, if the sun is coming up early enough in the morning and all of a sudden he's absent, he's not around. And then, to me, that's very telling that everything as far as Barack Obama goes is protecting his legacy at this point. On the other side, the Republicans, I saw this morning, I was wondering what Mitt Romney was up to, when he came out a couple of weeks ago against Donald Trump. Mitt Romney's out on the campaign trail campaigning for John Kasich right now.
Right.
So what we have here is now we know who the establishment really wants as president. Rubio has kind of imploded. And so I'm thinking what the establishment people are thinking about is a brokered convention with Kasich-Rubio ticket or something like that.
Oh yeah, because you know that the establishment does not want Ted Cruz. I mean, there is nobody in the Senate, none of his peers really like this guy. So it's not him.
Well, I tell you, there's something just grabs me in the gut when I listen to John Kasich talk. And it's the same feeling I get when I listen to Jeb Bush talk. It's like there's nothing coming out of this guy's mouth that is even close to what reality is. And, I just, he's too nice. He's too nice.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. When you listen to Kasich, the problem that I have is he's not doing well. He hasn't done well. He's hoping to do well in his own state, but you know what? He may not even take his own state. It's a really close campaign is going on there. And the thing is he keeps saying that Trump will not be the nominee. Trump will not be the nominee. He will be the nominee. Is there something going on in the background that he's just not finishing that statement with?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. It's being revealed. Like I said, when Mitt Romney, I wasn't sure who they were. I knew when Romney came out a couple of weeks ago that this was a desperation attempt. Let's send out somebody that really has no political ramifications for anything that he does. He's not running for anything. He's not holding any office, but he's got the name. So let's send him out there on point. And we're going to announce that we're basically what Romney did was we're going to take Trump down. That was the announcement. That's what all that speech was about. They waited too long. If they had done this in the beginning, it might have worked. If they had floated out their establishment guy out there, if they had taken Jeb Bush under their wing in the very beginning and said, this is what we're going to do, it might have been, we might be looking at a completely different outcome right now.
Oh, yeah, because they got blindsided. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought Trump had any staying power, that he even had a chance at all. And I think that what they did is they waited and waited and waited for Trump to implode, and it didn't happen. And every time he made these dramatic mistakes that politicians would generally lose their careers over, he flourished and got more supporters. I think that he is just flabbergasted the establishment because they didn't think he had a chance. They just thought he'd kill himself.
Well, obviously so. I think you hit the mark. That you hit the nail right on the head here. I really think in the beginning the idea or the plan was to coronate Jeb Bush, and Marco would be the vice president because these guys, kind of grew up together, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work out for either one of them. I think when Rubio went junkyard dog on Trump here a few weeks ago, I think the promise had been made to him by the establishment. You're our guy, and we need you to help take this guy down, and we'll get you through at a brokered convention, because Rubio is the one that's talking about brokered convention all the time. Yeah. Now, I'm hearing Kasich starting to mention it, and the fact that I see now Romney out there campaigning for him tells me this is the strategy. The strategy is you're not going to see Rubio or Kasich pull out of this race as long as they have the ability to dilute delegates and keep Trump from getting the majority, or even Cruz. Cruz is not that far away from Trump right now. I think there's let's see, Cruz today is at 370 and Trump is at 460. That's an 80,
that's only 90 delegates apart.
So that's nothing. That's nothing right now. And so and Rubio is actually campaigning for Kasich in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania won't put Kasich on the ballot.
Yeah, can you believe it? You know what? And it was actually suggested that Rubio tell all of his supporters to vote for Kasich in Ohio. Can you believe that? I mean, you talk about suicide. Would you ever tell your supporter to vote for somebody else?
Well, no. It's not suicide if the plan is to get at a brokered convention, and these two are the ones that rise to the top of the heap.
True, but I would think that would be the biggest sign of how stupid that Rubio could be if he was going to trust somebody that much. He would really have to trust him to pull a stunt like that.
Well, what is incensing about it? What is really makes me angry about it is that to do something like this, and at this point not really hide what you're doing, is an insult to the voters. What they're basically saying is, you people wouldn't figure out what we're doing if we told you what we're doing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, John, we got 15 seconds. Why don't you go ahead and give your show information?
Okay, you want to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and all our archive shows are there. Bios on the people on our panel. Bob is one of our panel members. Any of the blogs that we're out there writing, Joe and I write, and you can catch up with what we're doing out there in cyberspace. So just go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, at your leisure, and it's all there for you. And I appreciate the time today, Bob.
Hey, thank you, John. We'll talk to you on Friday. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, take care. God bless.
All righty. Now,
okay, guys, it's time for the Edwards Notebook, and then we'll be back with more of the Conservative Syndicate with you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For a man who hasn't paid his taxes, Al Windbag Sharpin sure makes a lot of stupid noise. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, most people who owe at least $5 million in back taxes try to keep a low profile. But thanks to his buddies in government, including the White House occupier, Al Windbag Sharpin is emboldened to loudly spout off some of the dumbest comments in American history. The Reverend Al Sharpton equates the intelligent idea of Congress leaving the decision to vote yea or nay on President Obama's possible choice for the Supreme Court for the next administration with profiling of Obama. Sharpton explained that he sees the racial angle to the debate over the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's replacement. What the Reverend Al Sharpton fails to acknowledge is that President Obama has not made one single significant decision that benefits the United States. In fact, the Obama presidency has so damaged America's reputation around the world that our one-time allies no longer view our republic as a leader, powerful or dependable. Yet, our enemies like Iran can depend on this administration bending over to please them. The good news is Reverend Al Sharpton said that he will leave the U.S. if Donald Trump is elected president. Oh, and he can take the suddenly outspoken Mitt Romney with him. Bye now. I'm Ron Edwards.
catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Vying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
And we're back. And this is hour 2 of the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live right now, coast to coast and around the world. Nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I'm adjusting here to my little minor tech problem I'm having during the day here. I don't know, I've never had this problem before. I don't know if any of you out there have ever had it, where your volume is so loud and you can't bring it down no matter what you do. It's always been the other way, trying to get your volume loud enough. It's really weird that I'm sitting here today trying to keep my volume from redlining all the way up past the clip-off points for the show here. But I guess we'll figure that out here maybe when we get off the air tonight. And, of correct that. Anyway, having said all that, I hope you got something out of that first hour here. I'm going to dwell in a little bit more detail. I was talking in the first hour about some of the bizarre things that I'm seeing out there coming out of this Department of Justice under the current reign of Loretta Lynch at the behest of our great, illustrious President Barack Obama. And I was talking in the last hour about the federal government coming down and issuing directives to municipalities and cities and states as to how to conduct the collecting of warrants or the collecting of fines of people who have not paid their fines. And as you know, if you've ever had a ticket, if you got a ticket for something and you don't pay the fine or you don't show up at the court date, they issue what they call a bench warrant. And then what happens in most cases, they don't come looking for you. What happens is you get stopped for something else, or something else happens that involves the police, and what they'll do is they'll just routinely run warrant checks on everybody that they talk to. Anybody that has to provide ID for any reason, whether it be a witness or anything else, they'll run a warrant check on you. And if they find a warrant, they'll arrest you. And they'll make it so that you have to either go to jail and appear in court, or go to jail and get bailed out, and then but somewhere along the line, you've got to appear before a judge. And Loretta Lynch has seen fit in light of her reasoning is based mostly on people being arrested during riots and protests and demonstrations and things like this by police, and they don't feel that they should be profiled that way, that they should be targeted that way. If you're at a protest or a demonstration or you're burning down a building, you shouldn't be held accountable for some warrant that's already out there for you. You should, I guess the idea is look the other way, that kind of thing. And so they've issued these directives to states and municipalities telling them to determine whether people are too poor to pay the fines. And my questions are basically centered on what gives the federal government the right to even step into state business. And if that's the case, isn't the federal government, by the idea of using this type of affirmative action profiling, racist in and of itself? That you are predetermining that people cannot pay because they're poor, and they're poor why? Because they're people of color? And then we can go into a whole dialogue about, well, if that's the case, aren't most communities of color under democratic jurisdictions? Don't they have democratic local officials and democratic mayors and democratic governors, for that matter, in some cases? If that's the case, is this not an indictment on the liberal movement and the Democrat Party, that they have created this demographic out there that all they're doing now is trying to pander to so that they can solidify this demographic for each election cycle, because they're not able to bring other people in? And a lot of the people that voted for Barack Obama in 2008, 2012 are actually moving to the right, if for no other reason, their displeasure with the Democratic establishment, in much the same way we have been just really frustrated with the Republican establishment. People are crossing ideological, cultural, and even theological lines to vote for Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump is, in my opinion, a very audacious, I find him to be a very unappealing person. And I think he's playing the populist role the same way Obama did. I think there's a lot about Trump that reminds me a lot about Obama. But the point being is that he's hit a nerve, just like Obama did, and he's capitalized on it. And he's using it to his political advantage. And so everybody's kind of upset about this. But the idea here that the DOJ has felt that they have the authority because of the Constitution and other federal laws, and saying, well, we can step into the state's business and tell them how to prosecute crimes, especially in terms of warrants. That is bizarre to me. The other one that is taking place by the DOJ, and this is even more bizarre, is the idea of prosecuting people who deny climate change. People who deny climate change. Climate change deniers it's being floated out there to target people that deny the existence of climate change. And since this is our short segment, we're going to go to our break right now. When we come back, we'll talk about that. And then I'm going to get into some of the heavy particulars in terms of what's going on with the Trump rallies and some of the things I've seen out there. And, of course, if time allows today, if not today, tomorrow, Hillary Clinton's ongoing problems with her email server. Another state official that worked on her equipment is refusing to testify, while another one, from all reports, is in there spilling the beans. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll go to a commercial, get these out of the way, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I am your host, John Matthews, man, prophet of the airways, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state, and that's what we endeavor to do here through education, information, and engaging you, our listening audience. All right, now, let's get back into this, what I call bizarre actions by the Department of Justice, talking about the possibility Loretta Lynch was floated a question at a judiciary hearing by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, I guess, who is one of these senators that has kind of adapted or adopted climate change, or weather, as we call it on this show, as one of his major issues. One of the things he wants to leave a legacy of at whatever time he decides to leave the Senate. And the parallel or the analogy that is given, I'll give you in just a moment here, but I want to, Sheldon Whitehouse at this hearing said to Loretta Lynch, the similarities between the mischief of the tobacco industry, pretending that the science of tobacco's dangers was unsettled, and the fossil fuel industry, pretending that the science of carbon emission dangers is unsettled, has been remarked on widely, particularly by those who study the climate denial apparatus that the fossil fuel industry has erected. This is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Under President Clinton, he goes on to say, the Department of Justice brought and won a civil RICO action against the tobacco industry for its fraud. Under President Obama, the Department of Justice has done nothing so far about the climate denial scheme. So the analogy that Senator Whitehouse is giving here is that you remember back during the Clinton administration when all of a sudden the big thing was getting people to quit smoking and making it illegal because everybody was worried about dying from the effects of secondhand smoke. That what happened was the Department of Justice manipulated and was able to accomplish things like getting the tobacco industry to put warning labels. You know, smoking, it has been proven that smoking can be hazardous to your health. It has been proven that smoking can hurt your child during pregnancy. You get all these warning things. And then they went a little bit farther. They banned billboard ads. And then they banned commercials. And so it's this process or this progress of doing what? Trying to stop the tobacco industry because it seemed to be an issue that everybody thought, hey, we can use this to our political advantage. Liberals love the idea of being able to legislate utopia. And if we just eliminate all the advertising for cigarettes, and of course the tobacco companies now are being charged with targeting youth. Now the big thing is, I think they call them vapors. These little, they look like, I've seen them out there, they look like pens, ink pens, and people can smoke from it, and they're supposed to be breathing in and exhaling non-tobacco or non-nicotine type thing. I guess it's kind of like, it's supposed to be like a placebo where people can smoke and not really do any damage, because that's the other thing. You know, we want people to be able to do what they want. We just want to control how they do it. We want people to think that they need to smoke. But so let's create this product, and we'll call it a vapor or whatever they call them. And even those things now are being attacked because they still have the element of suggestion. And the kids are out there now wanting to vape. Now, I've sat in behind cars that people have these vapor machines going on in their front seat, and they generate a heck of a lot more smoke than a cigarette does. I'll tell you that. I remember seeing one. I thought the car was on fire. There was so much smoke or vapor coming out of the car. But anyway, so now those people are being under attack. Now, of course, from a political advantage, the idea was to be able to levy more taxes, a type of sin tax. And if you buy a pack of cigarettes today, I think at the store I go down here, I don't smoke, but I see their little signs up there. It's almost $6 for a pack of cigarettes at the local convenience store here. And the reason why is because there's taxes on these things that are just really outlandish. And so it's a sin tax. It's like, okay, if you're going to destroy your body, and you're going to willingly destroy your body, we're going to make sure that you pay the state for doing that kind of thing. But the idea here is that, you know, the industry tried to downplay the damage that can be caused through smoking. And rightfully so, they were disproven. And it was proven to be a scam. I mean, nobody's denying that. It's that the government's reaction to it was, let's take advantage of this. Let's take advantage of their fraudulent behavior, and let's just soak them for everything we got. And the good part of it is, we're doing society a great justice by making it hard for people to smoke, making it expensive, that kind of thing. Now, the analogy here that's being floated, of course, is what? That in the same way the tobacco industry tried to mislead the public and hide the damages of smoking tobacco, the climate change deniers, in particular the fossil fuel industry, is doing everything they can to disprove that climate change exists, or as we refer to it on this show, the weather. That weather changes, and that the weather changes are changes made by man. Man is the one that's manipulating the weather through his greed and disregard for Mother Earth and everything, that kind of thing. That's the thinking here. And what nobody ever talks about when we talk about the weather is the fact that all these studies, Senator here makes a reference to the studies that these scientists conduct, and they never talk about the fact that not a single report on the weather has ever stated without any doubt, beyond any shadow of a doubt, scientifically proven, documented, and validated that climate change or the weather changing is man-made. There's a lot of reports out there. I've reported it on this show a lot, several more times than I can remember. I've looked at some of these studies, especially the ICCC studies, because of the scandals that were involved in the manipulating of the models so that they could get the results that they wanted. And I've been trying for the life of me. I've been trying to pull up. I had it someplace, and I have been digging through everything, trying to get through cyberspace and find it again. Many of the scientists, contemporary scientists that are out there today, openly admit that when they have a theory or a hypothesis, and the facts and the experimentation does not bear out what it is their theory is, that they will disregard those facts, and then eventually the theory becomes the reality of whether or not it's documented or proven or not. It becomes the accepted narrative. It becomes the accepted narrative. And that is what liberalism is about. The core of liberalism is creating a non-existent narrative, a narrative where there is not one, and making it whatever you want it to be, and then through deconstruction and redefinition, validating it outside of anything that would prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt, and then you just have to accept it. And that's what the climate change or weather changes in the atmosphere that go on and have been going on and will continue to go on, even if man isn't here. As long as the world is not reduced to just dust particles in space, there will always be weather. And the weather will always change. And some summers will be hotter than others, and some winters will be colder than others, and some seasons will be rainier than others, and some will be drier than others. That is the nature of the beast. And when you try to sit there and say, well, let's carbon date something from 18 gazillion years ago, and try to convince me that because of what you determine that piece of soil that you've dug up from 3 miles down, and you're going to tell me that you can tell me what the climate was 18 gazillion years ago, I'm going to look at you and laugh, because you don't know. It's the same like finding a dinosaur bone and then giving me a complete reconstruction of what a dinosaur looked like when you have no idea what it looked like. Well, based on the size of this bone and the way it's pointing, well, it must have connected to this bone, it must have connected to this bone, and now this is what it must have looked like. I mean, who can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that T-Rex was a meat eater? Why? Because it had big teeth? Hey, maybe there were big trees. Maybe they needed those big teeth to chew through the heavy bark of big trees. But nobody can tell you one way or the other what was going on during the times of dinosaurs and everything else. Okay, they have found some skeletons intact. Great. Okay, you can reconstruct that. But how do you know that they didn't have feathers and that they had leather skin instead? How do you know that every dinosaur looked like Godzilla instead of Big Bird? I mean, come on. They don't really know. It's based on theory, and then theory becomes accepted fact, and then the accepted fact becomes the narrative. So now what we have here is government, federal government, conspiring to come after climate change deniers. Now, why is that? Why does the government care so much outside of the lie or the narrative that man is destroying himself? We got to save Mother Earth from our greed and our disregard for nature and everything else. It has nothing to do with it. That is the narrative. That is the story that's being floated out there. What this is an attack, an organized, synchronized attack against fossil fuel industry for the purpose of what we've talked about on this show many times, creative destruction. Creative destruction. Creative destruction is the redistribution of wealth to a new class of people. It is the changing of the guard of aristocracy. And what we're seeing here is the idea of renewable energy, environmental friendly stuff that's going on out there, biology and everything else, is for the purpose of being able to shift capital, investments, and profit from an industry that has got it locked in and had it locked in since the days of Babylon, and shift it into the hands of somebody else like the Al Gores and the Barack Obamas and the people out there that buy in, or even the Clintons. The Clinton Foundation was founded with the idea of making money off of climate change, or changes in the weather as we call it. So that's what this is all about. This is about the government stepping in for the purpose of creating an already active special interest group that will help bring millions and billions and perhaps trillions of dollars and put out of the hands of fossil fuel industry into the pockets of a new generation of aristocrat. It's still the same thing. It's just capitalism disguised as something else. And that's what this is all about. So Loretta Lynch is out there floating the idea. She has referred it to the FBI to consider whether or not it meets the criteria of a crime to deny climate change, or the weather as we refer to it here. Deny the changing of the weather, and if you're a denier, can you be prosecuted for it? Can we go after the fossil fuel industry and the people that head up that corporation and accuse them of committing a crime by simply telling us what we already know? If you've got the IQ of seaweed, there is no emphatic, undeniable truth that man-made climate change is man-made. There is nothing out there that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt, other than those who have bought into the quote-unquote models and the scientific research, which, by the way, in and of itself is a very large money-making industry. Every time you hear a study come out on climate change, or the weather as we refer to it here, what is it? It's a study that needs more investigation, which means more money. They need more money for more investigation to prove their theories that have not been proven, and everybody's making a ton of money off of it. I watched a little segment the other day on the Filipino channel. Al Gore over in the Philippines at the cemetery of, I believe, American soldiers that died over in the Philippines, placing a wreath, doing the wreath thing like they do here at Arlington. Like everybody did before President Obama, when you come out on Memorial Day and they put a wreath out there in Arlington Cemetery. Al Gore's over there doing that in a cemetery. I don't know if it was Filipino cemetery or an American cemetery, but it was a cemetery, and it was military. I know that. And he's out there placing the wreath. But what was the headline on the article? He was there to talk about climate change. The Philippines has grabbed onto this thing. You see what's going on in the Philippines. I mean, they're into the green movement, man. They're big time over there, big time. Okay, so what's going on here in that regard is just simply, this is all about capitalism. The people that tell us that capitalism is evil are actually the ones out there manipulating and trying to bring about creative destruction, the redistribution of wealth to another class of people, a new class of aristocrat. What kind of aristocrat? A central planning aristocratic society where the people with the money control everything. And this is what they say about the Republicans and the conservatives. The rich control everything. Well, they're just upset because they're not the rich and they're not controlling everything. And that's what that's all about. We got to go to break here. When we come back, we'll take a call here. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. Right now, it's time for Moments of Madness. Today on Moments of Madness. The recent violence that has begun to appear across the country at Donald Trump rallies underscores the truth embedded in the old adage, those who failed to learn from history are too often the idiots that blindly repeat it. Beginning with the removal of Black Lives Matter activists in Georgia, who may have, in all fairness, just wanted to stand silently in protest during Trump's speech, to the sucker punching of a protester being removed for disrupting Trump's speech in North Carolina by a Willie Nelson-looking cowboy, to the 37 arrests for assault, including a very bloody protester in St. Louis, to the nearly riotous outburst in Chicago that led to the hospitalization of several attendees, among them a MoveOn.org organizer. These series of incidences resurrect for those of us older to remember the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The 68 Democratic Convention was a brokered convention brought about by Lyndon Johnson declining to run for re-election, along with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy within a month of each other. Kennedy was running a close second to then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, who had garnered establishment delegates outside traditional primary protocol. Humphrey was the establishment choice. Kennedy, an anti-Vietnam supporter, the people's savior. Also present at the 68 convention was the anti-establishment movement Youth International Party, known as YIPPY, led by Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, and the National Mobilization Committee to End the War in Vietnam, called MOBI, led by David Dellinger. Over the course of 4 days, violence routinely erupted on the streets of Chicago, resulting in 589 arrests, 119 and 100 injuries to police and protesters, respectively, and the death of a 17-year-old stopped for a curfew violation who pulled a weapon and fired upon officers. Here's the madness. Parallels between the 68 convention and what we see playing out today are more than eerie. For instance, there was once again the prospect of a DNC brokered convention, this time to ensure an establishment nominee wins with superdelegates should the current frontrunner with more than a shady past be indicted. Her opponent is a popular socialist lauded by the college crowd who feels the burn. Just as chilling is the even more serious prospect of a GOP brokered convention to stop a populist who refuses to play by establishment rules and in doing so has captured demographics establishment candidates can only dream of. Following the 68 convention, another radical group formed at Ann Arbor, Michigan by Students for a Democratic Society called SDS. Founded by a radicalized Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground capitalized on the anti-Vietnam movement and the rise of the Black Panthers. The Weathermen, as they came to be called, participated in bombings of police stations and government installations like the Pentagon, along with riots that coincided with the trial of the Chicago 7, those who had been arrested on conspiracy charges the year before during the 68 Democratic Convention. Today, college campuses across the country have their own underground. Black Lives Matter, many of them who are being trained by MoveOn.org, who we now see showing up in larger and larger number at Trump rallies. The only impartiality they display is the fact they squeeze in at an occasional Clinton event on their quest to whine and moan about their identity dilemma. And who do these self-proclaimed disenfranchised college youths look for inspiration? None other than Bernie Sanders, self-avowed democratic socialist who spews forth his own revolutionary rhetoric of government overthrow through redistribution economics. Yes, the parallels are as uncanny as they are eerie. Even more frightening, though, is the prospect this time around. While everyone acknowledges the inmates are running the asylum, no one in charge seems to care enough to put any of them back in their straitjackets. My guess is they just want to watch history repeat itself. Unfortunately, there are enough idiots running the streets to make it so. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, man, prophet of the airways, and just doing what I love to do best every day, getting here in front of this microphone, educating, informing, and engaging you, our listening audience. I was talking before the break here about these bizarre events that are coming out of the Department of Justice here. I'm going to tie this all up here, but the one was the Department of Justice issuing directives to city and municipalities, directing them to not prosecute or arrest people that have outstanding warrants for minor issues like traffic violations if they're too poor to pay. And again, I guess we need a whole new type of bureaucracy to determine if people are too poor to pay. And I'll make one other comment about this. If you are out there and you do something that is a traffic violation, and I'm not saying that law enforcement in cities and municipalities are not gouging us. I'm not saying that they're not doing that. They certainly are. Out here in California, a carpool violation starts at $471 just for being in the wrong lane if you don't have another person in the car with you. Making a right turn on a red light or running a red light is a $500 fine. You know, and it's all in the name of public safety. But that's gouging, and there's no doubt about that. But the idea that the federal government feels that they have to step in and determine or mandate some type of bureaucratic profiling to alleviate or exempt people from paying fines is nothing more than encouraging the very communities that they're having the problems in to disregard the law. And then that's and that is a pandering thing. That's why they're doing it. They're pandering to this demographic out there, the poor. And, you know, if you're poor, if you're having a hard time economically, and you've been a Democrat your whole life, you need to really ask yourself, have the Democrats really done anything for me? Or maybe the reason you're still a Democrat and still poor is that you'd rather have the government take care of you, and that's why you don't like Republicans, because Republicans, well, real Republicans, I'm not talking about the Republicans that are walking around today disguised as jackasses and elephant skins. What I'm talking about, the real conservative would be, hey, if you're poor and you don't like it, you do something about it. You correct your situation. You don't wait for the government to subsidize your laziness or unwillingness to better yourself, that kind of thing. So Just that really kind of bothers me in that regard. And then, of course, being able now to prosecute, they're trying to get to the place, and the FBI is going to make this determination. How does that matter? How do you do that? What does the FBI know about climate change? I guess the idea is that what they want to do now is be able to prosecute people that deny climate change. Boy, I wonder what the criteria for that is. How are you going to determine whether somebody needs to be prosecuted for denying climate change when you can't even prove that climate change exists? So there you go. There's one for the narrative, and you figure out how that works. Now, let me shift gears here. I want to talk about. I talked about it earlier when we were on Bob's show. I want to talk about it here for a few minutes here. The situation with the escalation of violent confrontations between rally goers and protesters at Donald Trump rallies. Now, I am one of the first people to admit and very vocal about the fact that I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't really care for this guy. I think he's big on talk and he's low on substance. He's yet to really explain to me how he is going to work with a Congress that is hell-bent on making sure that he doesn't make it to the White House, and how he's going to be the ultimate deal maker that's going to make America great again. I think that Trump probably has some skill when it comes to the economy. I think he might be able to pull some things off and bring back some type of restoration. I'm sure the Republican establishment would not, they would back him if we reduced, or because that's what the Republicans want to do. Cut back on regulations, reduce taxes, bring businesses back to the country. That will work, and it may be sufficient. It may be sufficient enough for him to become a popular president, much like Bill Clinton did. Of course, Bill Clinton didn't make all these changes to make the economy great. Ronald Reagan did, and Clinton rode the tide. But, Trump, he may do that. He may be able to correct some of our fiscal issues here. I don't think he's going to be able to reduce any deficit, because if he's going to be a deal maker, he's going to have to give to get. And I don't know how they're going to work it out. If maybe he'll trash the Iran deal. Maybe he'll trash the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Maybe he will. But what will he put in his place? And maybe he will put something in place that will be to our benefit. It could be. Maybe they will build the wall and Mexico will pay for it through by leveraging their deficit with us. All that could happen. But I do believe that one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of the next president is to restore some type of moral gauge back into our culture, some type of moral standard. And I don't see Donald Trump as a moralist at all. I see him as an opportunist. He is everything he said. I don't doubt that Donald Trump is everything he says he is, except a conservative. I think he is an opportunist. I think he's a populist. I think he's a deal maker. And I think he'll use all those things to his advantage. But that does not equate into reestablishing a moral gauge or a moral guide by which decisions are made by citizens on an individual basis that would bring back some type of atmosphere where people feel safe on the streets and in their homes. I don't see that happening. And I think even more so at his rallies, it's very evident that he capitalizes on the anger by, in some ways, encouraging it. He may. Yeah, you may be hearing Donald Trump's rhetoric and think, wow, he's inciting violence. No, he's not inciting violence. People are responding to what he's saying violently, but he is not inciting it. Where do we get off? See, this is the narrative again. The narrative is what? Somebody else is responsible for how I respond to what's being said or done. Donald Trump is saying things that offend me, a person of color, or offend me, a Muslim, or offend me, a progressive. And therefore, I am now licensed to go out and disrupt, throw punches, tear up signs, rush the stage, I'm entitled to that because this guy has offended me, and we just can't take this. We can't let this go. I want you to just imagine here. We're going to go to break. Well, just imagine, just for a second, if what would happen last week at any Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton event had been carried off by somebody who said, I'm a member of the Tea Party, and I think, this has just got to stop. This has got to stop. You people are instigating hatred through your racial divisions and your socioeconomic policies, and the fact that we should be catering and pandering and taking care of everybody. And I'm a Tea Party person, or I'm a right-wing person, or I'm a whatever. I'm a White Lives Matter person, and I'm going to disrupt this protest. How do you think that would be being played in the media right now? Would it be Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are inciting violence? No. It would be all on us. It would be all on us. We got to go to break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first, and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. To the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. Glad to have you with me today. I hope you're getting something out of this. I want to finish up the show today talking about Trump. Not Trump, but what's going on at his rallies. Because there's a couple of things about this that people really need to understand what's going on here. They really do need to understand what's happening here. And what's happening here basically is this is a continuation. This really is the continuation of the Obama campaign. And if you followed the Obama campaign at all, 2008, 2012, it started in 2000, actually started long before that. It started when he was a community organizer back in Chicago. And we have talked about it on this show, some of the organizations that he was involved in. One of them was La Raza. The other one was UNO, which was Ralph Nader's group. He was educated and mentored at the Midwest Academy, which is the Francis Piven type of, and Alinsky organizing, how to become part of the electoral process and then be able to work from the inside out rather than the outside in. See, Barack Obama, when he came into office, if you remember, it was about, he was going to unify everybody. He was going to redo Washington. He was, and he said later on, I think it was after his first term, something along the lines of, I really didn't understand just how how established the establishment is. He really thought he was going to be able to go in there and people were just going to fall in line and he was going to redo everything, and it didn't work that way. It's still not working that way. So he just has taken this course of action of, I just write a letter, I issue an executive order on something, and then you try to stop me, sue me. I'll be long gone by the time you guys get anything reversed. So, but this situation here, the rally in Chicago, the one that everybody was really has been paying attention to because it was much larger than some of the other rallies, was very organized. Thousands of people, from what I understand, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 4,000. Some estimates are up to 5. These organizers showed up, and they were actually organized by MoveOn.org and La Raza and some of these other organizations that Barack Obama was affiliated with in his early days and still has some clout and connections with. And one of the things that is being said out there is, again, the narrative or the argument that Donald Trump is the one that has incited this violence. He has gone out with his rhetoric, and he has insulted, and he has downgraded, and he, the racist rancor and the Muslim hating, kind of thing, and it has been translated. Even though most of what Donald Trump has said on immigration is due to terrorist activity and the fear of terrorist activity, and of course Hispanics, the Mexican immigration problem, people coming across the border from the south and just soaking our system, stealing jobs, soaking our system, living off the taxpayer dime with no accountability for anything, and their money being shipped back to Mexico. These are the two issues he's talking about. And of course, the black community has grabbed a hold of it. Not the black community. MoveOn.org and some of these other organizations who have been exploiting or are now exploiting Black Lives Matter, and they're trying to bring this into this unified movement of Muslims, Hispanics, blacks, and anybody else that wants to jump on. All these white kids out there in college that feel guilty about being white are jumping on the Black Lives Matter thing because they want to be cool. They want to be cool. They want to be seen as something other than kids of white privilege. White privilege is something that, again, it's another narrative that has been created for the purpose of promoting and progressing an agenda that it's all about white America. And you poor suckers out there in college right now, you're part of the problem. So, why don't you just go get your cornrows and just, start talking slang and, maybe put some bling around your neck and, wear your pants down to your knees and you'll be cool. You'll be looked at as cool, But anyway, I'm digressing here. Bernie Sanders has come out, and this is what is really intriguing about this. When this first happened, I thought this was, this is something Barack Obama's behind, and he might just be complicit by his silence. But one of the things that has happened here, MoveOn.org, which I've been paying particular attention to, has endorsed Bernie Sanders. These are the people who endorsed Barack Obama. And they are made up primarily of socialist and communist people on that extreme left-wing fringe that are upset really with Barack Obama because he didn't go fast enough and he didn't go left enough. And just because you had a Congress that had at least in appearance the ability to stop you, and you just you've only gone so far. You didn't go all the way. Bernie Sanders will take them all the way. And that's why they're supporting Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders is out there playing this, this ignorant, I don't know what's going on. And he may not. I mean, this guy is a day older than dirt. He may not have any clue what's going on. He might be speaking at campaign rallies in between bouts with Alzheimer's. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that the people doing this, the majority of them doing this, are Bernie Sanders supporters. White college kids are making up a large number of these protesters, but they're claiming to be part of Black Lives Matter, And Black Lives Matter people are supporters of Bernie Sanders. MoveOn.org has endorsed Bernie Sanders as their presidential candidate. Now, let me just give you an idea what I'm talking about here. At the Chicago rally, if you saw anything on TV, you saw a black gentleman up on the stage, rush the stage, he was trying to tear something up or something, and he was wrestled away by police officers, and he was detained. His name is Quo Vadis was his name. That's the guy in Chicago, Quo Vadis. And he is an organizer for Black Lives Matter, but he is a Sanders supporter. And his real name, let me see, I got his real name here. Let's get it down here where I put all this information here. And here we go. His real name, I don't know what it is about people in the black community. They come up with some of the weirdest names for their kids. His name is Quo Vadis Green. And so he calls himself Quo Vada. Quo Vadis Green. He's a Chicago activist, and he is involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. And he was involved in the protests on Michigan Avenue shopping district during last year's Black Friday Christmas shopping weekend. You remember Black Lives Matter people went into the stores and disrupted commerce during Black Friday. It took Black Friday, that was a day that they decided to do that. He is a organizer and activist. He calls himself, he's into artist management, concert promoting, event planning, tour consulting, and crowd management. Does this sound familiar? Remember the big disruption they had down in Houston where the kids all went into the the neighborhood? The government housing neighborhood, I believe it was, and they disrupted a party. It was at a pool party or something, and they disrupted it, and a bunch of people got arrested. And the people that started the riot was she was a party planner, a concert promoter from Chicago, in I think it was McKinney, Texas. McKinney, I think that name sounds familiar, but you get my drift here. Okay, these college or these concert promoters, event promoters, people out there pushing the hip hop and rap and everything, are involved in organizing crowds to go in at these events, these Trump rallies. Here's my point. I'll leave it with this. Here's my point on this for today, is that Trump is being blamed for inciting violence to people who obviously have no control of their emotions. Trump can be everything you say he is. He's probably everything I say he is. I don't believe he's a good man. I don't believe he's ethical. I don't believe he's an outsider. I think he is a promoter just like everything else. He is a deal maker. He is a salesman. We'll give him that. But he is not responsible for the actions or responses of anybody to what he says. And when you use what somebody else says to license how you respond, and you respond with violence and hate and everything else, and then you call the other person a hater, you're more than an idiot. You are more than an idiot. Having said that, we're going to close the show down for today, and I'm glad you took the time to join us. We'll be back tomorrow. I got more for this. Don Dix from Act for America is scheduled with us tomorrow. I want to get his take on this. So God bless you all. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.